Louder. Doesn't have the same noise. Good evening, everybody. And welcome to the new Petawawa Town Hall. So if you're wondering why we're here, the Town Hall is presently under renovations. So there's some demolition and some new builds happening at the Town Hall. And it's kind of appropriate that we're here. We needed the extra space for all of the parents and friends and families of our special guests here today. So I'd like to call this meeting of the Council for the Town of Petawawa to order for June 16th, 2025. Welcome members of Council, staff, all the friends and family of our special guests here this evening. I'd like to start our meeting off with the reading of our land acknowledgement, and this evening it's Deputy Mayor Saverin's turn.
As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Petawawa Town Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Omama Winini Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Omama Winini people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. And we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 calls to action. Call to action number 58. We call upon the Pope to issue an apology to survivors, their families, and communities for the Roman Catholic Church's role in the spiritual, cultural, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis children in Catholic-run residential schools. We call for that apology to be similar to the 2010 apology issued to Irish victims of abuse, and to occur within 1 year of the issuing of this report, and to be delivered by the Pope in Canada. Recent program. On July 25th, 2022, Pope Francis offered a sweeping apology to Indigenous people on their native land in Canada, fulfilling a critical demand of many of the survivors of church-run residential schools that became gruesome centers of abuse, forced assimilation, cultural devastation, and death for over a century. I humbly beg forgiveness for the evil committed by so many Christians against the Indigenous people. Pope Francis solemnly stated.
Thank you. And now, if you are able, I'd like everyone to join me by standing for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you, everyone. Okay, just before I continue on, can everybody at the back hear me okay? Speaking like this? Right on. Okay. So first I need an approval of tonight's agenda. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that the agenda for June 16th, 2025 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on any of this evening's matters? Seeing none, we have some minutes from the council meeting of June 2nd, 2025. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held June 2nd, 2025 be approved as printed and circulated. Any concerns or comments on the minutes? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, that ends the official part of tonight's meeting. And now we get to the good part. I have to say, before we get into this is probably my favorite meeting each year, when we honor the students from our community for their community involvement and volunteerism and all around being a good person. It's great to have all of you here. Before we get into congratulating and honoring the students, I also have to thank and congratulate all the parents, grandparents, relatives, friends, neighbors, anybody who had a hand in the raising of these individuals. It takes a community, And I just want to thank you and congratulate you for doing such a fantastic job. So thank you all for being here and for those who are watching at home as well. The reason we do this is because it takes a lot of volunteerism in our community to make our community run smoothly. And I think it's great to see people your age taking that kind of initiative, going out there and volunteering, joining certain organizations and doing whatever you can to make the town of Petawawa a better place to live. I know as a teacher for 30 years, I used to get asked a lot, what do you think of the kids today? And are we going to be in trouble when we get older? I was asked the same question for 30 years. And I bet you back in 1950, they asked the same question then too. Look at these kids. They're wearing jeans, growing their hair long, and listening to rock music. What is going to happen to us when we get older and these kids are in charge? And I'm sure they gave the same answer I'm going to give now. I think we're going to be okay. Because you'll hear a list of these 8 students and all of their accomplishments, and you're going to feel better about the state of your future. Because these are young individuals who have been doing great in school, volunteering in the community, and joining all kinds of organizations, and I think we're going to be in good hands. And 100 years from now, that same question will be asked, and I'm sure the same answer will be given again. We're going to be okay. So I'm feeling good. I'm getting older now. I'm feeling good that these are the people that are going to be taking care of me and my community as I get older. Okay, so we'll get on with the ceremony. I'd like to welcome back Tracy Service, who's going to take charge of our presentation of the awards for the Outstanding Student Citizenship Awards to the town of Petawawa. So just before Tracy begins, just a couple of housekeeping items. The reason you saw me struggling to put this on today is because I do only wear it once a year, and it's for this very special occasion because I'm handing out an award to these special individuals, and I know that you're going to take a picture with us handing you the certificate, and I thought it's appropriate that this is the day where I put on the chain of office to honor you and your achievements. So after Tracy announces the student and their accomplishments, we'll ask the student to come up and just stand in between Deputy Mayor Sabern and myself. Once we hand the awards over, it's that chance or opportunity for you, the parents and relatives, to come on up, and we'll just take the picture right here. Okay? So don't be shy. As soon as the award is handed over, come on up and take as many pictures as you want. Okay?
You done?
I'm done. I get that at home too.
Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see everybody here. I had a chance to touch base, so I had a little bit of personal time with each of recipients, and echoing my husband's sentiments. It makes us feel good to know that there are so many amazing young people, and maybe they'll come back to Petawawa someday. That would be great. I know moms and dads are thinking that for sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the students up. I'm going to start from the furthest away high school, that would be Fellows, and then I'm going to work our way towards Petawawa. I'm going to call you up. You're going to stand here just for a second. It will be painless because I make them short and sweet. So you don't have to stay here long, and then you're going to go accept your award and you can have some picture time. So I'm going to call first on Gabriel Landrio from Fellows High School. Okay. Now he has to listen to them. Gabriel is a friendly and respectful young man. He greets his peers and staff with a kind word and a smile on a consistent basis. He's a team player when it comes to group projects in class, and Gabriel has been part of the Fellow Student Council. He's helped out with hockey, and also he's tried out for the football team. How'd that go?
Didn't make it.
Oh, no. His hard work and high academic achievement has allowed him to be accepted into Carleton University Aerospace Engineering Program in the fall. Congratulations, Gabriel.
Yeah, come on up. Who's first? Who's first?
You have to show your Aunt Kathy this picture tomorrow at school.
Thank you.
Just gonna give them a second to get organized. Okay.
I didn't know their names on the police. I'm just handing them out.
Okay, moving along to Bishop Smith Catholic High School, I'd like to call on Krisha Alexander, please. To come up. Krisha is a kind, humble, and respectful student. She's well regarded by both staff and peers. As a hardworking Ontario scholar, talented athlete, and streetlight theater actress, she leads by example and generously shares her time and her skills. As the Bishop Smith Student Council President and valedictorian contender, Krisha has demonstrated outstanding leadership during her high school years. She has exceeded her required 40 years of 40 hours. That would be nice. 40 hours of volunteering and contributed to her school's sporting success on the volleyball, tennis, basketball, and badminton teams. And former badminton high school player, Krisha actually was the second best in Ontario girls single badminton player. She got a silver medal at the Ontario Provincial Championships for high school. That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. Well done and good luck, Krisha, while you go to Waterloo to study life science. Well done. Okay, still with Bishop Smith Catholic High School, I'd like to call upon Madeline Shorey. Madeline is described by her teachers as a dedicated and high-achieving honor roll student. She's polite, positive, friendly, and always willing to lend a helping hand. Athletics play a prominent role in Madeline's life. She served as the vice president of the Bishop Smith Student Athletic Council, and when she's not playing on the field or on the court, she volunteers her time at various volleyball, soccer, and baseball events, as well as helping out at elementary fun days and the Bishop Smith Summer Camp. The town of Petawawa, don't know what that says. I'm sorry. My computer skills, not so good. The town of Petawawa wishes this dependable, kind, calm student all the best in the next chapter when she goes to the University of Ottawa to study commerce. Congratulations, Madeline. Can I call on Madison Reiner, please? This busy young Neckinock student may be a budding politician, having had a role on student council for all of her 4 years in high school. She's logged over 200 hours, not years, volunteering at the Petawawa Pantry and over 100 hours at the public library. That's 300 hours. Amazing. She's also offered her time to the local Bassmaster competition, the Franco-Ontario Festival, many school activities, and she created the webpage for the Rotary Club's Veteran Banner Project in 2022, which I know is very near and dear to Mr. Service's heart, and I know he appreciates all your hard work on that. She is fluent in English and French, and when she isn't studying, volunteering, or working at Mount Molson Dairy Bar, or Best Western, or the PSCP summer camps, she's been learning how to speak Italian. We wish this ambitious and creative student much success as she leaves Petawawa to go study psychology at the University of Ottawa in the fall. Congratulations, Madison. Moving down the highway, we're going to Jean Lajoie. Can I have Maya Massico, please? I stand corrected, it's Massico. Maya is an outgoing, friendly, and inclusive individual who naturally connects with others and brings positive energy to every environment. Our community has benefited through Maya's involvement in Petawawa Minor Soccer, Town of Petawawa summer camps, tutoring local students, assisting young local dancers, and organizing her school's prom. Her interests include soccer, dancing, and running with our local Couleur de Bois running club. Whether working at summer camps, babysitting, or coaching, Maya demonstrates a strong ability to relate to and support young children. Her fair-minded and compassionate nature helps foster a sense of belonging, while her initiative and reliability consistently make her a trusted leader in both school and community settings. Good luck, Maya, as you go off to study nursing at the University of Ottawa, Pembroke campus. Congratulations. Our last Jean Lajoie recipient is Alexis Belanger. Outgoing, respectful, and responsible with a strong ability to lead are words used to describe Alexi. She has shown initiative, maturity, and strong organizational skills in her roles in both school and community teams and organizations. At Jean Lajoie, Alexi participated in cross-country running, basketball, curling, volleyball, and was the captain of the soccer team throughout all your high school years?
No, it's my last year.
Oh, okay. I got wrong information. Still impressive, very impressive. She volunteered on the Jean Lajoie Athletic Committee, the prom committee, and she also volunteered at track meets and assisted with peer tutoring. She is also an accomplished dancer and dance teacher at Stars in Motion. She's a favorite of the youngest of the dance students. Alexi will be missed by her community when she leaves later this summer to study concurrent education in sports psychology at Laurentian University in Sudbury. Well done, Lexi. Have fun at Laurentian. Our last two recipients are a little closer to home. Owen Chapin or Chapin? Chapin. Owen Chapin from Ballard, please. Owen is hardworking and dedicated in his academics, in the community, and on the volleyball court. He's a quiet leader who always gives his best and is a steadfast role model for his peers. In our community, you may find Owen refereeing youth soccer, volunteering as a camp counselor, or at the Civic Center playing hockey and or soccer, probably not at the same time. Just down the road, you may see him volunteering at the Grind, at a senior's home, or acting in a community theater production with the Streetlight Theater Company. Now, did you ever do productions together with the other students? Yes, that's awesome. That's a great community or a company. Owen has received a Renfrew County Medallion and has achieved gold honor roll status in all 4 years at Ballard. These impressive experiences have led Owen down the path to study a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology at the University of New Brunswick. Well done, Owen. And I wanted to ask, are you going to try to play volleyball at UNB?
Just for fun, maybe.
Fun? Yeah, okay, that's it. Have fun and congratulations. And our last recipient of the evening, Kelly Foster from Ballard High School. Ballard graduate Kelly has been an active member of the 2642 Petawawa Army Cadets for the past 6 years. She's been a leader amongst her fellow cadets as both the Chief Warrant Officer and the Regimental Sergeant Major. She is also a recipient of the Lord Strathcona Medal, the highest award a cadet can receive, in recognition for her exemplary performance in physical and military training. Impressive. Valor benefited from her proven leadership skills, where Kelly founded the Indigenous Students Association and consistently participated in GSA, Eco Crew, and Connect Crew events. Kelly will leave Petawawa to go to Peterborough's Trent University to study anthropology in the fall. Well done, Kelly. That's it for me. Congratulations, everyone. Thanks for coming out.
Don't go anywhere yet. So congratulations again to all of the students and again, all of the families who are here and watching at home. You're all part of their success. And it's great to see so many high achieving students here in Petawawa contributing back to the community. At this point though, I'd like to thank Tracy Service. I don't know where we found her, but it's good to have her organizing this whole event. and helping us recognize the students here in Petawawa.
And Kate.
Okay. So thank you very much for doing this again this year, and I'm not going to pretend this is your anniversary present. Last year I got the cake.
The one time you're in it.
It's August 25th, by the way. I got it. So again, just a final thank you and congratulations to all our award winners and to all of the parents and extended family here and watching at home. And what my wife said earlier about you coming back to Petawawa after you graduate, she means it, we all mean it. We'd love to have you back here in Petawawa. We will welcome you with open arms. Although when my wife said that, I saw a few parents shaking their heads. So maybe the basement department won't be open for you and your old bedroom might be cleaned out. But you're welcome back if you find a place of your own. We'll take you. So congratulations again to all of you. Thank you for coming and joining us this evening. So what we're going to do now is take just a quick little break because I don't think all of you want to stay for the next 2 hours and watch us do some exciting municipal business. And we'll tell you what's on the agenda and you can make up your own mind. But we will take a short 5-minute break just to allow everybody to take off if they would. Thank you again for coming. Here now?
Yeah.
Sound you can hear coming out of the speaker?
Not
How
really.
about in the back row there? Can you hear me through the microphone? Councillor Carmody,
Yes.
when we move on to the next year-end review, will you be introducing the acting?
Sure.
Okay. You ready? Welcome back, everybody. We're going to carry on with our meeting this evening. Next on the agenda is the Petawawa OPP Detachment Board 2024 Year-End Report. And I'm going to turn the microphone over to Councillor James Carmody, who is the chair of the Petawawa OPP Detachment Board. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Service. And good evening, everyone. So this is our annual year-end report of the Police Services Board. And if I can get the technology going here. Oh, that worked well. I decided. Slide please. There we go.
You're on, James.
Okay, there we go. So this first slide that we're looking at is a picture of what our detachment board looked like earlier in the year. So pictured here, we have Inspector Steph Neufeld, and next to him is our community appointee, Michelle Chapin. And next to Michelle is, as you all know, the Deputy Mayor, Teresa Sabrin. And next to Teresa, we have Sharon Dainty, who is a provincial appointee. And next to Sharon, we have Sarah, correct, Darrow, Sarah Darrow, who is, was an acting staff sergeant at Upper Ottawa Valley at the time, and I believe is now the staff sergeant out in Killaloe. And immediately behind Sarah, we have Ryan, who is a community appointee as well, and then next to Ryan, myself. So, oh, Ryan Tushner, sorry. Moving on, we have the 2024 Board Upper Ottawa Valley OPP Joint Action Plan goals. So, given that I can't read those from this distance, I'm going to off my computer here. So we established a number of goals earlier in the year at one of our meetings. And so the first one was to support the implementation of the Upper Ottawa Valley OPP Detachment Area Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. And as many of you are aware, that's a plan that was a long time in the works and is quite an in-depth, lengthy document. And it was fitting that that was our number one goal because it's something that guides the policing in our community for the next number of years. Our second goal was to foster the concept of community partnership and ownership in maintaining a safe community. So that goal basically means that we are the police and the police are us. You know, it's everybody's responsibility to make sure that we have a safe community. It's not just the police themselves. The third goal was to establish an active educational program consistent with our vision, including public awareness campaigns regarding false 911 calls, legalization of recreational marijuana, distracted driving, seatbelt use, speeding, and impaired driving. So a lot of the items that are big social ills. So So continuing on, we had goal number 4, which was to serve as a partner in the safety support network for children, youth, families, and seniors, with a focus on seniors regarding scams, frauds involving internet technology. And this is something that we're currently actively working on, is a public awareness campaign for keeping people safe from all the fraudsters out there, and the ever increasing likelihood that you will run into these people. Goal number 5 was to institute effective protocols which address violence against women. And certainly this is something that we have done at the municipal level at the behest of the Police Services Board. The municipality passed a motion declaring intimate partner violence an epidemic. Goal number 6 was to leverage technology to create operational efficiencies and expand the Petawawa Police Services Board or Petawawa Detachment Board's social media presence, just to get out there and let people know who we are and what we're doing, and that we're there. Goal number 7 was to ensure appropriate and professional interactions and communications. Goal number 8 was to support the Upper Ottawa Valley OPP in the continuation of ride programs for the detachment area, which is something that we do and have done every year. And number 9 was to collaborate with the Upper Ottawa Valley OPP in the implementation of the CamSafe program. I'm managing to keep things in sync. This is pretty amazing. Speed awareness monitors. So speeding is always an issue. As a matter of fact, that's the single biggest thing that we hear from people in the community. If there's ever anything that they're going to contact the Police Services Board or municipal staff about, speeding is right up there in a top-notch concern. And I'm sure everybody has noticed them. They're popping up all over the place. Many communities have these little monitors that you stick on a pole and it just shows you how fast you're going. And they're very effective at slowing traffic in that area where the monitor happens to be. So the Public Works Department supported the Petawawa OPP Detachment Board by installing a 3rd speed awareness monitor on Black Bay Road. So you may have noticed that right by the church. And the Police Service Board also deploys 2 Black Cat units, which are small boxes that record speed more accurately, as the general public does not know they're there. So you're driving by just doing your regular thing, and these units are recording your speed. So it gives a pretty accurate indication of how fast the traffic is moving. We partnered with MAD Canada, which is Mothers Against Drunk Driving, for a couple of road signs, which you may have seen. So we have one on the one on Laurentian Drive and another along the boulevard. And we also support MAD Canada in other ways as well. We take out advertising in their annual journal that they put out. So accidental 911 calls. In 2020, the OPP updated its 911 call handling workflow and policies to allow its emergency communicators more discretion to divert certain 911 calls and ensure more frontline OPP officers are available for actual emergencies. So in 2023, the Upper Ottawa Valley OPP responded to 50 calls for service for 911 hang-ups or pocket dials. And in 2024, they responded to 47. So that's a lot less than it used to be, but it's still a fair bit of resource being allocated to something which is something that shouldn't have happened. So you can learn more about the OPP Detachment Board by visiting the Town of Petawawa website. See, it's listed right there, petawawa.ca/PSB. And there's some information there, and most of it is way too small to read. So you'll just have to trust me, go to the website and be able to see it there. It's quite readable. So our social media presence has continued to grow. We've got 268 followers on our Facebook page and 25% increase in content interactions. So we share a lot of the releases that the OPP put out in each region, and various other things. So I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody has any, or the information that we've provided here.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Carmody. Any questions for Councillor Carmody on the Police Detachment Board presentation? Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one. Thanks for the presentation. It's very nice to see that we're a pretty safe community here and you get to do so much. Those speed signs, do they track data as well about how like speeds as people are passing them, or just illuminate your speed?
Yes, they do. They track the data, and we've got our data tracker sitting two to my left.
Perfect.
Yes, Don is very good at capturing all that data and putting it into a format that makes sense for us.
Further questions on the report? I just have one for you. The CamSafe program. I think it's been a couple of years now that we've had that in place.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have an idea of how many individual homes have signed up for that program, or businesses, I guess, in Petawawa?
Yeah, I don't know what I don't have any data on those numbers. So perhaps Inspector Bosa does. So I can find it, or can certainly find out.
Okay. I was just curious if it was, people were buying into the program and if it was useful in the town of Petawawa. And just a comment about the speed awareness monitors. I'm just speaking for myself. I actually like to get the happy face. So I make a point of going the appropriate speed to get that happy face. So it does motivate some people. Maybe I'm the only one. I don't know. Okay, any other questions for Councillor Carmody? Okay, thanks again, Councillor Carmody, and thanks to the entire detachment board for all of their work that they do to help keep the community of Petawawa here safe.
Okay, well, at this point, I'll introduce the acting detachment commander, Inspector Steve Bosa. And he will give the report from the police service end.
Welcome, Inspector Bosa.
Thank you very much for having me.
This stuff out of the way here.
So you do have a microphone in front of you.
Yeah,
We should be able to hear you.
I will speak loudly as well. Works for everyone. If you can't hear me, just ask a question. All right, well, thank you very much for having me. Do appreciate the invitation, the opportunity to speak before the Petawawa Town Council. Just to give an update on our progress for 2024. Me being new to this area has presented some challenges, but I'm quickly learning the area, and quite frankly, we have a lot of amazing people in this jurisdiction, as well as amazing officers who work within the detachment, doing some pretty fantastic stuff every single day. The OPP has a strategic vision, which is basically safe communities to secure Ontario. Our OPP values are always serving with pride, professionalism, honor, respect, interacting with respect, compassion, and fairness, and leading with integrity, honesty, and courage. We try to apply these things with everything we do on a daily basis, whether it be interacting with public, interacting with each other, dealing with whatever kind of issues that may pop up within the jurisdictions that we police. For 2024 and into 2025, the OPP strategic plan has basically remained the same, and we will be proceeding with it in 2025 again. We'll be concentrating our people, which is a healthy and resilient OPP, concentrating on our work, so a responsive and evolving OPP, And then our communities, which is a collaborative and progressive OPP. So our priority areas, I'm not going to just read the slides, but because everyone can read the slides that I've already presented to the council. But people-centered and effective processes. So taking into account people every day with our decisions when it comes to training, when it comes to interacting with the public, trying to remind members that to treat people how they want to be treated. And trying to ingrain that with their everyday interactions with members of the public, with people who we interact with at traffic stops, and just trying to be out more visibly in the public. Resiliency, so trying to promote mental wellness amongst our officers is a key priority for us. In 2024, we did have several presentations done by officers who've been through some traumatic events in an effort to promote officer resiliency amongst our staffing, just in an effort to give people how ways to cope with some of the stuff they have to deal with on a regular basis. And member engagement, seeking feedback on how we're doing, how can we improve? Well, how can we support the members better within our detachments to ensure that they are getting what they need to be successful and to promote public safety within our communities themselves. We're doing several things, such as integrating the 13 psychosocial factors of safety within our leadership team, within the management. So Staff Sergeant Dara, Staff Sergeant Chris Miller, as well, who is the Staff Sergeant at Petawawa Detachment, and right now Acting Staff Sergeant Ian Moore, who's currently at Pembroke. We always take these factors into account when making decisions on everything we do, quite frankly, making sure our members feel supported, because without our members showing up to work every day, it will impact our ability to provide effective services. And, the amazing work the members do on a daily basis, I just can't understand. Our people, it's the focus of what we do. Supporting our members, being out there, trying to be visible. The number one complaint I hear from community members, especially in my previous location at Renfrew, is we don't know our officers anymore. Trying to get them out, trying to get them to be seen by members of the public, trying to have them have positive interactions, because people don't call police on the best days of the week. We try and go there and just be compassionate and ultimately act within our authorities that we need to act with to keep people safe, and to try and provide alternate resources such as utilizing MESA, our MCERT program, all the other great things that we do. In 2024, we participated in the Pride event that occurred. And again, this past Friday, we had officers there as well. We have officers going to schools. We have officers doing presentations. We have officers involved with Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers Renfrew County is very, very successful and is organized by one of the officers out of this detachment for the entire county. We have 2 MCERT officers who help deal with people in crisis. These officers are paired with a crisis worker who is not a police officer, who can go into situations, make recommendations on apprehension of people who are in mental health crises, determine if they need to go to the hospital or not, and then provide very specific information to doctors that police can't really relay effectively, or gives another insight into people or doctors' abilities to assess people who we've apprehended and brought for assessment. Again, we're trying to be out in the community as much as we can, utilizing our auxiliary unit members. Auxiliary unit members are volunteers who donate their time to the OPP. They wear light blue shirts, but they're at our community events. They are trying to be out as much as they can in the community, as well as ensuring that they have the opportunities to go and do ride-alongs with frontline officers. Sorry, I've gotten ahead of myself in my conversation. Got to catch up. So our priority areas of our work is making sure we have the people where we need them to have, using analytics to ensure that we have people where calls for service are, using historical trends, using speed data information if we have a problem spot. The Black Cat is amazing data that we do get, and we're able to utilize that information to see actually if there is a problem in that area. Because sometimes perceived perceptions of speeding issues don't correlate with the actual data, or if there's data saying there is actually a speeding issue, we will target that area with officers giving directed patrols. Investigations and frontline operations. That's the heart of what we do, how we investigate things. Investigative excellence is at the top of my priorities as the detached commander here. ensuring that we're being fair, we're treating people with respect, compassion, fairness, as well as ensuring that each interaction with people we try to take into account that on the worst day of their lives, they're reaching out to us for help. So just trying to ensure that we're taking the proper investigative steps to ensure that proper prosecutions happen within our courts systems. And evidence-based decision-making. So again, using the past as a guide to our future. Using analytics to determine, hey, this has worked in the past, do it again, or maybe try different approaches. And our work. An enabled organization to meet its policing responsibilities. We have a lot of units within the OPP. Our community street crime unit has been extremely active, and as probably many of you heard in the recent past, within the last 2 weeks, we had 19 arrest warrants. Substantial amounts of fentanyl taken off the streets in Pembroke, but there is cross applicability between Pembroke and Petawawa because your communities are so close. People travel between your two cities. So it does have a positive effect. In addition, we have our crime unit members. Our crime unit members have worked extremely hard over the last year trying to solve some major criminal cases that have occurred. And most recently, they were able to get multiple criminal charges after a months-long investigation involving several different specialty units, not limited to our emergency response teams, our surveillance teams, intelligence teams, community street crime teams. Now our work. This is where I always get the most amount of questions in terms of calls for service billing models. Year over date, 2024 compared to 2023, we had a lot more violent criminal code offenses. I delved into the numbers, and the majority were IPV or intimate partner violence related crimes, which there was not really any commonalities to it. There were some issues when it came to, substance abuse is a commonality amongst the assault charges when it comes to IPVs, as well as mental health. There's an associated correlation with that. You mentioned 911 drop calls for service. Invalid 911 calls, there was only 16 calls for service that I could see in the recent past. And I know the OPP is actually about to do a public awareness campaign on when the right time to call 911 is in an effort to alleviate some of our issues with people inappropriately using the resource. Calling 911 for a neighbor dispute when there's no violence is not an appropriate use of an officer's time because it ties people up from responding to actual emergencies. So we'll be putting out a public awareness campaign on how to or when to use 911 effectively. For operational one, I've noticed there was an increase of about 60 calls for service. When I looked into that, suspicious persons accounted for about 20 calls for service for that. There was 20 non-criminal code domestic calls for service. So again, that correlates provincially. Like we have seen a provincial trend across the board of an increased domestics, and unfortunately, it's a part of society nowadays. And neighbor disputes accounted for 10 calls for service. So that does account for the majority of your increases when it came to our operational one. Threats of suicide also accounted for a larger increase into that. So that's bringing in our mobile crisis response officers, so the one paired with the crisis worker to go to those calls too. We've seen an uptick in that type of calls for service. The biggest change that we had to deal with in 2024 is the launch and implementation of the Community Safety and Policing Act. This really changed a lot of things. Well, didn't change a lot of things, but realigned a lot of things. Gave the old PSBs, they went away. They're no longer active. And obviously the new OPP detachment board is now taking their place. Part of the changes that have come with it, it gives the OPP detachment board the opportunity to give feedback into what the detachment commander is doing. And there's actually, I believe there's a part of a appraisal for the detachment commander that you guys will submit at a certain point this year in terms of how satisfied you are with the services we're providing and stuff like that. So it gives more feedback to us, and with the monthly meetings we've been having, unfortunately, my schedule hasn't cooperated lately to attend them, but it's enabled a more free-flowing information sharing is what I've had feedback from Chris anyway. So the staffing development and deployment model. our staffing deployment model. This is a model the OPP is trying to switch to across the board. They've looked at across every general law enforcement or GLE detachment and it attempted to call or ascertain what percentage of an officer's time should be allocated during any given shift. On that badge in the right corner, you can see proactive presence police patrol should be about 21% of the officer's time, so general patrol, going out to our speeding areas and doing proactive radar enforcement. Calls for service should account for 40% of their time, and I'd like to see them doing 5% of their time doing community engagement. Our administrative requirements is very, very high. We are leveraging technology to the best of our ability, but sometimes technology slows us down. Every officer, I don't know if you've noticed, has a body-worn camera on them, which absolutely great technology, but with that kind of technology, it also brings in issues with, or not issues, but time-consuming reviewing that data to make sure that there's no disclosure issues. Going into the technology part too is every one of our frontline vehicles now have in-car cameras that have automatic plate recognition systems in. So every time you pass one of our cruiser, it reads your plate, lets you know if the driver's suspended, if the driver's criminal code prohibited, if the plates are not valid, it actually flashes up in the cruiser. So our technology, we're rapidly evolving. In addition to that, we're also changing our radio systems, I believe, the end of this month. Our old legacy radio system, I believe they're the Fleet Net radio systems, have been in place since I got on the job in 2006. The new radio systems, they have this huge antenna. We're actively using them now too, but the end of June, they'll be fully encrypted, so no one can hear our transmissions, and promoting officer safety, reducing people driving by accident scenes. You won't have the same kind of public, not even public oversight, but people driving by scenes when they don't need to be there because they know that that's going on. It'll enhance officer safety. In addition to each one of these is GPS tracked, so we can know where the officer is at any given time. The transmission range is much greater, so it's definitely a very good addition to our toolbox. Also, 2024 brought the amalgamation of the Killaloe detachment into the Upper Ottawa Valley catchment area. Killaloe detachment used to be a standalone detachment, and September of 2024 became under the umbrella of this detachment. Staff Sergeant Sarah Dara is the detachment ops manager over there and managing that detachment. So bringing that additional detachment under the UOV umbrella has brought additional officers that we can pull if necessary. A major event happens, just additional officers to come over and help us out. So it's been going very well thus far. Another thing we brought online in 2024 was the Offender Management Apprehension Program, or OMAP. OMAP kind of deals with people who have been released on bail. You're arrested, you're charged with a criminal offense. We put you before Justice of the Peace, and the Justice of the Peace will release you on a Form 11 or on bail. Usually they have conditions that are enforceable, so we've revamped how this is done. It was formerly called intelligence-led policing. Now there's a full dedicated officer to monitoring people who've been released on bails, assigning checks to ensure that they're complying with their bail conditions, and ensuring that if there are violations, that those charges are effectively laid very, very quickly. This has been a very, very near and dear to the heart of the commissioner, as I'm sure you've all seen his messaging when it comes to repeat offenders who are out on bail. I've been talking a lot, so I know it's gone dry. I apologize. And our communities, I've already kind of addressed what we're doing. In 2024, we actually had, we hosted, or in Petawawa was hosted, the Emergency Protective Services United event, where police, EMS, fire got together and then did some obstacle courses and other team building activities, which went over very, very well. 2025 is going to be happening again. Unfortunately, it will not be in the town of Petawawa. I think it's moving. I'm not sure when where it's moving to, but it's going to be rotated around the detachment area. So that's something to look forward to. And then our community engagement. We're doing everything we can to get information out to the public, whether it be paving scams, whether it be grandparent scams, any kind of fraudulent activities. We know that people are targeting some of our most vulnerable people. People who work their entire lives are losing their money due to fraudsters. Getting fraud prevention programs in place is a high priority for us. And I know we have people able to give presentations on how to prevent frauds from happening. I know I have pictures of Bobby Zumi's fishing with cops. That's in Pembroke. But again, we have people from all over our detachment area going to these things. We're trying to be proactive in the public, trying to be seen, trying to be more than just a uniform. We're trying to be known as members of our community, because we are. We're also partnered up with MESA. So we are trying to do twice a month foot patrols with MESA program, just to get out there trying to deal with the addiction issues, unhoused issues within our communities. I know more of an issue within Pembroke, but there is spillover within the communities here. So we're doing everything we can to help support people who are in crisis on a daily basis. We also have detachment operational clerks. So part of this is not the community engagement, this is kind of the Oscar. So the detachment operational clerks are members who are civilian members who work for the OPP, who assist frontline officers with doing data entry. If an arrest is made, these members or the docs will do the arrest report, do the paperwork, do the court reports required to have someone prevail, freeing up an officer to be available for calls for service. This has been extremely well received by all our frontline officers, and they're permanent members of the Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment now. The amount of time savings, consistencies, and consistencies disclosing matters to the court has made a very large impact on our ability to present evidence to our Crown attorneys to prosecute. We also have a victim specialist. We are the only detachment within East Region to have a victim specialist. Jackie Pearson is a member of our detachment. She will support victims of crime. She will deal with families who have lost members. She is amazing at what she does, and she's busy beyond belief helping Upper Ottawa, as well as she sometimes helps out at major cases in other detachments. Oh, I went too far. So I know I said a lot of information very, very quickly. One thing I didn't touch on is we've started doing syndicate traffic enforcement. So syndicate is we partner up with the Ottawa detachment, the Renfrew detachment, and our detachment. We do roving traffic initiatives outside our regular like seatbelt campaigns, Canada Day Week campaigns. So we try and target areas that have problems. The latest one we did in this detachment area, we targeted our community specifically, not Highway 417, because a common complaint is you don't see our officers doing traffic enforcement there. And during the weekend, the officers are very, very successful. I forget the exact number of charges that were laid, but it had a very positive impact on, I know they were out in Beachburg, I know they're out here in Petawawa, and even all the way out in Whitney. So they spent a lot of time doing enforcement in rural areas where officers aren't usually seen. I know the other kind of issue that's been brought up has been the Algonquin Trail. We have had enforcement done by our members, as well as our SAVE team, so our snowmobile, all-terrain, and vessel enforcement team. They were up 2 weeks ago doing trail patrols and just educating and enforcing on our trails. Going forward for the summer, we do have a marine unit dedicated associated to, or in this attached to the Renfrew detachment. So we'll be dividing time between Renfrew and Upper Ottawa Valley detachment, but we will be on the waterways. We will be ensuring boating safety and just overall just trying to make our communities safer and just promote public safety. So any questions from me? I know I said a lot very, very quickly.
That was all good. Thank you very much, Inspector Boden. I'll open it up to members of council. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much for coming this evening. I want to thank you and the whole team for the outstanding work. The new things that I see that the OPP are doing locally here in the town of Petawawa and in the county of Renfrew is just outstanding. Technical support these are doing, helping people, I like all these special sessions that you're doing with the cybersecurity, these conversations that are going on, all those information, little blurbs that are on the radio and media, social media campaigns, all that stuff. People are listening. I can hear them. They're talking. They're engaged in it, and it's education. Very good work. Always a question I always like to ask: how are we doing with recruiting with OPP? Do you find the numbers are coming up with the younger people?
Recruiting. So what's happened is OPC is now we are recruiting the best of our abilities. We are recruiting 4 classes a year. When I went through, they were only doing 3. We're trying to fill, I believe, 150 students per class, and I think they've been fairly successful at doing it. Recently, we received 4 recruits in the last recruit class, divided between Petawawa and Pembroke. So that was a welcomed addition to our detachment. We have, I believe, 3 more coming in the next class. So we are getting new recruits in the area. So we have been fairly successful. The OPP has kind of switched stance where my first posting was Red Lake. They want to keep people where they want to be. So if someone wants to come to Petawawa, they'll be coming to Petawawa. So we've been fairly successful at getting people to apply. It's more competitive now. Fewer people are applying to the job, but we are still filling our seats.
Good to hear. Thank you. And thank you for your work. Pass that on.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not a question, just more of an acknowledgement. It's great to see the success that MESA has achieved over this short time span, and as well with the Renfrew County Warming Center, which was an initiative that started 2 winters ago to deal with unhoused individuals. And it is, in part, its great success has been with the OPP and their contact and interaction with the clients that end up at the center. So thank you very much for that.
Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Inspector Bassett, for your presentation and your attendance here tonight. I know that the job is very demanding. Certainly, I've been sitting around on the Police Services Detachment Board for a little over a year now, and absolutely respect, compassion, and fairness is echoing through all of what I see, and the way that Staff Sergeant Miller is providing support to our town. I think that the ability to use the data from the ski awareness and Black Hats to endeavor to have focus patrols is really paying dividends, and so that's a really good thing. As Councillor Carmody said, speeding is always one of the big issues, and there's a lot of speed out there. One of the things you did say, I'm just going to go with this, the auxiliary gets to participate in ride-along. And I don't know if a civilian like me, who is brand new to the detachment board, might be able to do a ride-along. There's probably all kinds of insurance things you have to look at, but I just throw that out there now in the public. And I would love to participate in something like that.
We can have a conversation. I'm pretty sure I can have some.
Thank you so much.
As a detachment board member.
Councillor Kern.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for the presentation, Inspector. That was great. At one point, you mentioned that all of the cruisers are equipped with cameras now, which monitor the license plates, and if you're driving around with an expired plate, it pops up immediately. So, a couple of questions. Do you find that's happening more these days? Because with plate renewal the way it is, like, you're not getting a piece of paper in the mail anymore. The same goes for driver's licenses, for OHIP cards. Like, I know this one guy who was driving around earlier this year with an expired license and no OHIP. And I'm not going to mention any names, but they had to stop in at the Service Ontario on Renfrew on its way home from Ottawa to get things sorted out. But I mean, this guy had no idea. Probably should have known, but
There's a couple.
anyway, do you find that's happening more and more? Like,
So as you're driving along, what happens is there's a ping on your screen. So every one of our cruisers also has a computer. So there's a little tough book sitting beside the officer, and as they're driving, it'll be a doo-doo-doo noise beside you. You have to kind of look down, look at it, and it depends on what the officer's doing at any given time. The ones that really make the noise or that pop off as noise would be more suspended drivers, more drive prohibited, stolen vehicles, pointer vehicles for certain things could pop up, or vehicles of interest. Pointer vehicle doesn't term that I should be using here, but vehicles that have been flagged for further investigative purposes might be on there. So officers will look to see what it is. Yeah, there are a lot of expired tags because you just have to go online and renew your tags for 2 years now, or your permits for 2 years. There are a few of those around, and in terms of expired licenses, yeah, people miss it because there was a mail strike. They usually send notice in the mail saying your license is expiring, your OHIP is expiring. I'm guilty of an expired OHIP card that I probably should have done sooner, but like a lot of people are able to do it. I don't see a lot of enforcement being taken on it, but if an officer does come across it and they have time and they want to do it, that doesn't stop them from having a conversation and educational piece, because we're not all about just tickets or everything else. It's about interacting and educating people. So, hey, are you aware? If this, we can see, give a warning on our printer systems in the cars. All our tickets are electronic now, so we print them out right in the cruiser at the time. There's a record of a warning given, and if you can look back, well, this person's been warned 4 times about it, you'll likely have some sort of enforcement action taken on that. Education is a big part of road safety, and just interactions with the motoring public is also very important, and our officers are taking that into account. So they do have discretion in anything to do, but when it comes to the suspended drivers and everything else, so those are more the hits that they're looking for with the ALP on our cars.
Thank you.
Councillor Kutuba.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you sincerely for your presentation. And I want to thank you on behalf of the Town of Petawawa's EDI Advisory Committee for participation of your officers, both at the Pride event and also at the Pride Walk. Uniformed, non-uniformed officers. Some of them were in the rainbow placard. It was really a great aspect of the event. We made a safe event. And so thank you. That's 3 years running now. We've had that participation. So it's really appreciated. And I just wanted to turn back to the calls for service summary report, of course, as you called it. I'm just wondering, do you track separately from the other violent calls to service IPV? Is there a number at your station where you're tracking that every year over year, the change in?
Yeah, no, we do track trends when it comes to that stuff.
Would I be able to liaise with someone just to have some more information on that piece, just for?
Yeah, we can connect later and we can have a discussion.
That's all I needed. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Thank
not
you.
a problem.
Great.
Councillor Driscoll.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say thank you for the service you do provide. I think Petawawa is one of the safest communities in Canada, and without the police being there to enforce making sure we stay that way. And I hope that we continue to stay that way. So as long as everything keeps going good, we have good communication with the Police Services Board and the OPP, which is great. But yeah, keep up the good work and keep making our town safe.
Definitely. Thank you for your time. I have big shoes to fill because Inspector Neufeld is extremely experienced and amazing what he does. I'm just trying to make sure I can do similar to this community as well. So.
Any further questions or comments? So on my behalf, I'd just like to say thank you to you and all of your detachment, all of your officers, anybody who works with the OPP in the Upper Ottawa Valley. We ask you to do a very difficult job, and you do a fantastic job at it. It's great to hear that you've got all kinds of new programs in place in terms of supporting your officers, whether it's physical or mental well-being. So it's great to hear that there's all kinds of supports available to them, because as I said before, it is a very difficult job, and you do things that others won't do. Thanks again for working and supporting the MESA team. I've had a lot of positive feedback in terms of how your officers and the MESA team have made a huge improvement in people's lives. The mobile crisis team, I know that was one of Inspector Neufeld's very important projects, and I've heard a lot of fantastic reports as well. You know, the officer supported by a mental health individual, and how it has been far more effective and beneficial to the people whose homes they show up to. Thanks for the Algonquin Trail. I know we get a lot of complaints about speeding on the Algonquin Trail. It's hard to go 20 kilometers an hour on an ATV. And I appreciate that, but I know myself, I drive on the boulevard quite a bit, and I'm passed by ATVs and motorcycles. So it's great that you're out there, and I know that the county has employed a new protest 5. They've been out there enforcing too, and hopefully you and they can work together to combat with, you know, the speeding issue on the trail. I guess I do have one question. We are a growing community. We're going to soon pass 20,000. We've had recent reports about the increased funding to the Department of National Defense and how that might affect the garrison here in Petawawa in terms of increased numbers coming to the garrison, and increased numbers coming to our town. So in terms of staffing our detachment here in Petawawa, is there a formula based on population, and as we continue to grow, does the detachment have to grow, or is it based more on crime statistics? I'm just wondering how that works.
So it's not a simple answer actually for that. So the service delivery model is a new way we look at how we deploy our members. So it's not just population size, because you have a town of say 50,000 people and there's no crime. It could be geography. You could have a massive area, such as my time up north. When I was in Wawa, I could be 4 hours away from a call, and it's a simple NBC or collision, and it would take my entire shift because it was just travel back and forth. They look at calls for service, they look at types of calls for service, they look at the geography, the projected increases to populations, they look at historical data too. There is plans, I know, under the service delivery model, we are slated to get a lot more officers to the Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment. And the new recruits we're seeing is part of that. It's just will take some time to get us fully to where we would like to be and should.
Okay, I can follow up to that, I guess.
Yep.
So if we are getting more officers here at the Petawawa Detachment, is our present police station adequate to service an increased number of officers, or do we need to get something bigger and better? Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, I believe it was a bank originally.
No, it was the old town hall.
Oh, it was the old town hall? Okay, I apologize. I was told it was a bank, and I'm new to the detachment, so apologize for that. I'll have to check with Staff Sergeant Miller on that, but I'd probably say it wouldn't be bad to have more space. It's an older building. It's retrofitted, not purpose-built.
Okay. And one final question. Councillor Driscoll mentioned that Petawawa was one of the safest communities in Canada. So a couple of years ago, Inspector Neufeld gave us a report, much like you did today, and mentioned that we were the second safest community in all of Canada, only behind Leamington down in Ontario. So that was 2 years ago, and I know you probably don't know the answer now. But if someone could find out, because we brag about it all the time, and until someone tells us differently, we're going to keep saying we're the second safest community in Canada. But just based on our statistics that you presented here this evening, I know that the stats showed us, with a slight increase.
Mm-hmm.
So based on the statistics 2024 compared to 2023, is there any cause for concern, or are we still a very, very safe community?
It's trends across the board. Like calls for services, every detachment are increasing. It's just the nature of policing itself. People call police to deal with issues in the community. The increase I'm seeing, I don't have any alarm. If I saw a massive increase to break and enters, I'd be saying, okay, we have to do this. Mm-hmm. I don't see that. I still think it's a very safe community.
Okay.
And I'd have to, I'll get the stats and confirm it.
Okay, so we're going to keep bragging then that we're the second safest community in all of Canada. And if you find out we're not, you can wait a while to tell us.
Might have to wait till the Inspector Neufeld comes back.
Okay, so thank you very much for joining us here this evening and giving us the 2024 report. And again, on behalf of all of us, make sure you thank the entire detachment for all the work they do, keeping Petawawa safe.
I will do so. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks again. We'll see you around. Okay, we'll carry on with bylaws. First up, we have bylaw 1764/25, being a bylaw to appoint an acting clerk for the town of Petawawa. I need a motion for first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrant, that bylaw 1764/25, being a bylaw to appoint an acting clerk for the town of Petawawa, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1764-25, being a bylaw to appoint an acting clerk for the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1764-25.
I need a motion for a third and final reading of bylaw 1764/25. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that bylaw 1764/25 be read a third and final time and passed. Are there any questions or comments on the bylaw? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1764-25, being a bylaw to appoint an acting clerk for the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1764-25, the 16th day of June, 2025.
Okay, and I guess welcome back, Don Rakowski, who is the appointee for the acting clerk for the Town of Petawawa. Great to have you back in the co-pilot seat at our town council meeting. Do we need the microphone taken from over there back to over there? Or we good? Okay.
Leave it there for presentations for the.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Okay, next up, we have bylaw 1765/25, being a bylaw to appoint a chief administrative officer and a deputy clerk for the Town of Petawawa. I need a motion for a first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that bylaw 1765/25, being a bylaw to appoint a chief administrative officer and deputy clerk for the Town of Petawawa, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1765/25, being a bylaw to appoint a chief administrative officer and deputy clerk for the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1765/25.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1765/25. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that bylaw 1765/25 be read a third and final time and passed. Any comments or concerns on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1765/25, being a bylaw to appoint a chief administrative officer and deputy clerk for the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1765/25, the 16th day of June, 2025.
And I guess I'll say congratulations, Mr. Colin Howard. You are now the new Chief Administrative Officer and Deputy Clerk for the Town of Petawawa. We're proud to have you running the ship.
Thank you. I'm glad you endorsed me. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, next up, we have a piece of correspondence. It's a letter from Dual Construction concerning the Nyman Pit and Quarry license tonnage increase. And I think Director of Public Works, Chris Mantha, are you going to say anything about this? No? Okay. He is not.
I am.
Would you like to say anything about this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You can come
Okay,
up to
so-
the microphone.
I will just make my way up there.
Sorry, that was in my script. So.
I did tell them.
It wasn't in mine.
Okay, I can add that. Okay, so we received a letter from Dual Construction for a consideration for request for a tonnage increase at the Nyman Pit. Currently, the annual tonnage is limited to 60,000 ton. Dual Construction is looking for a tonnage increase to 180,000 ton on an annual basis. So in essence, we have a traffic study that's been completed by Mr. Nyman, I Sherwood Nyman. I believe it was completed in 2021. I don't have it in front of me. I hope that's correct. Yes. So essentially, the request has been made. My understanding is that it falls on town council to first consider and then approve the tonnage increase, and then it would go from there to the regulatory bodies to also approve it, but it has to be approved first by town council. So I intend to bring a report staff report back to council on July 7th with regards to this correspondence.
Okay, so it sounds like on July 7th, we'll be getting a more fulsome report and a lot more information in terms of assisting us in making a decision on this matter.
Yes, correct.
At this point, though, does any member of council have a question about the correspondence? Everybody's comfortable waiting for the full report on July 7th? Okay, so we'll accept that correspondence as information and look forward to your report on July 7th. Okay, next we have some minutes of the council and committee meeting, June 9th, 2025. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councilor Centine, seconded by Councilor Carmody, that the minutes of the council and committee meeting held on June 9th, 2025 be accepted by council and that resolutions from that committee become resolutions of council. I'll call for the vote. Any questions or comments? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, now we have some minutes. First up, we have minutes from the Seniors Advisory Committee meetings of December 4th, 2024, January 8th, 2025, February 5th, 2025, April 2nd, 2025, and May 7th, 2025. I need a motion to accept those minutes. Moved by Deputy Mayor Savern, seconded by Councilor Roots, that the minutes of the Seniors Advisory Committee meetings held on the dates I just mentioned will be adopted as information. Deputy Mayor Savern.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I reported last week, it was a bit of an oversight that the minutes from the meeting hadn't come before you. I'm very pleased to say that this committee is a very robust and active group of individuals, consisting also of Councillor Karen Donovan, Anne-Marie Badelan, Cindy Nichols, Janice Bunn, Lynn Davenport, and Sandy Edwards has had to resign from the committee due to moving, but we certainly appreciated all of her input. So what I'm going to do is just quickly go through the minutes and pick up the things that I think are important. I guess first and foremost, we did elect a chair, and that chair, of course, is myself. And in subsequent meetings, we identified that it was also important to have a vice chair. So that is Anne-Marie Badelan. And she can certainly take over the meetings and run them very well in my potential absence. We did a review of the terms of reference and made some amendments with respect to things like code of conduct and whatnot. And we'll probably be bringing forth another amendment with respect to the participation of folks via Zoom, since that is also something that council can in fact do. So just from a perspective of administrative types of things. So we launched right into looking at the active aging surveys that have been completed by the staff team, by Joanne Shimmons, and that is basically an ongoing process to gather data from those surveys, gather data from community members so that we can be informing ourselves as to what our plan will look like for the development of a 5-year plan, recognizing that we have just a little over a year and a half of this council term, but nonetheless, we want to start launching forward. We have undertaken an inventory of senior services so that we can be informed as to what is currently existing in the community and where there might be identified gaps. We are also looking at putting together a booklet that will be a handy dandy little resource that will basically identify what's available for seniors, particularly seniors that are new to the community, seniors that are maybe not well connected and need to have that kind of information at their fingertips. So that's pretty exciting. We will be also looking at offering a day-long event in recognition of National Seniors Day, which is on Wednesday, October the 1st. And we will have a number of guest speakers on very relevant topics and opportunities to review some of our highlights here in the town, as well as those types of services in our community that we can bring for people to just do a check-in. We'll sort of have a sort of like a trade show-ish kind of a thing, and have that represented as well. This group is, as I said, very robust and very active, and so it's basically sort of managing our own expectations and crawl, walk, and running, and because they definitely want to be running, and that's well and good. So we're running in the areas that we can run in, and we are taking our time and being a bit more diligent when that is required. I'm just going to take a look quickly through the rest of the. Well, I do believe that I have covered what I wanted to, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Deputy Mayor Sanborn on the Seniors Advisory Committee? All right. Hey, congratulations to Anne Marie Badalon on her being appointed deputy, and congratulations to yourself on being appointed the chair of the board. I think it's exciting that we have this new committee in the town of Petawawa for the Seniors Advisory Committee to assist and help guide all of the activities that are happening in our brand new senior center, capably managed by Joanne Chidlins and the rest of her staff. So I think I'm hearing all kinds of positive reports about all the new programming that's being run out of here, and it's great that your advisory committee is there to help guide. Okay, next up we have, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? I was on a roll. It's carried. Next up, we have Petawawa Business Advisory Network meeting minutes from May 6, 2025. I need a motion to accept the minutes. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. That the minutes of the Petawawa Business Advisory Network meeting held on May 6, 2025 be adopted as information. Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine Mitchell, the Manager of Economic Development, and myself have both spoken to all the topics of the minutes, but I will take any questions if anyone wants to recap anything. Thank you.
Questions on the report? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, now we go to staff reports. First up, we have PW 18-2025 proposed pedestrian crossover, PXO, at the intersection of Dorn Road, County Road 26, and Herman Street. Chris, I think you're ready for this report.
Ready.
I didn't surprise you with this.
Nope, not at all.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I think everyone should be fairly familiar with these reports and requests, as we did two of them last year. One was on Victoria Street as part of the Wolf Avenue construction, and the other was on Murphy Road at Roy Street, both for PXOs on County Road. So a little bit of background on this item. The intersection of Dorn Road, County Road 26 and Herman Street. As we all know, it's a busy intersection with a stop condition only on the Herman Street leg of the intersection. Dorn Road at Herman is a through street. So as part of 2025 budget deliberations, Public Works staff began researching the merit for a pedestrian crossover at this intersection, and $100,000 was budgeted for the infrastructure investment. Prior to pursuing the design and tendering for this, our department took the first step, which was to engage the County of Renfrew in completing a traffic study at that intersection. There was some discussion within the Public Works Department that perhaps a four-way stop condition would be merited at that intersection, which would forego the necessity of a PXO. So the county completed that review and provided us with the results on May 19th, and they did not warrant as part of their review the consideration of four-way stop at that intersection. So we were back to the PXO. So also a bit more background on that, as council is aware of, that the town employs a crossing guard at this intersection and has hired a crossing guard since 2015 for this location. And there is a budgeted cost of about $7,000 annually for this crossing guard. And it is the only school crossing within the town of Petawawa to have a dedicated crossing guard at this time. So the attached letter that you have in your report from JP2G Consultants outlines the current conditions of the intersection and supports staff's decision to look at constructing a dedicated PXO at this intersection. And essentially what we're looking to do is provide safety for all pedestrians crossing that intersection, and not just in the morning and afternoon at school time, but essentially around the clock. And if this process moves forward, we intend to have the new PXO fully constructed prior to the start of school in the fall of 2025. And of course, once the PXO is completed, the intersection will no longer require a crossing guard to attend the intersection to facilitate safe crossing for students. So because the intersection falls under the county road allowance for Dorn Road, Town council needs to seek permission from the county council to have the PXO installed. And the request shall be approved by the appropriate committee of county council and authorized by the passing of bylaw by county council. In order to do this, county requires a resolution from the requesting lower tier council. And the resolution will also need to state the town of Petawawa shall be responsible for all costs associated with the initial installation of pedestrian crossing, including signage and pavement markings, as well as the replacement of the pedestrian crossing in future way down the road. The county of Renfrew shall be responsible for the costs associated with the annual operation and maintenance of the crossing, along with signage, and the town is responsible for the annual pavement markings associated with the crossing. So as far as financial implication, we have $100,000 budgeted for the design and construction of this new PXO at the intersection of Durham Road, County Road 26 and Herman Street. And as far as the financial implication as well, the town of Petawawa will complete annual pavement marking refresh at the pedestrian crossing as part of our town's annual pavement marking tender. Some of the attachments, the JP2G letter is attached. As I mentioned, I've also attached the county policy for trails and crossings, pedestrian crossings, and as well as the outline of the level 2 type B PXO crossing, which is what we are proposing for that intersection. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks for the report, Chris. Questions from members of council? Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one. So when you said that the traffic study from the county, can you just explain the difference, what results they would have needed to see to warrant a four-way compared to PXO?
It's a confusing study, to be honest, Councillor Driscoll. They look at the number of people crossing is a big item. They also look at average daily traffic counts essentially. And if those numbers don't flag a warrant for the four-way stop condition, it's denied. So they're really not looking at the intersection. They're not looking at it from a lens of it's a school crossing. They're only looking at it from the lens of traffic and pedestrians crossing, and whether those two items flag a necessity for a higher level of crossing. But in this case, they both of them did not warrant it.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I think it's good with me because your busiest times are going to be school times, and after that, there's no sense in stopping traffic. That's correct. When there's no traffic. Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up on that point, I guess if we, the town of Petawawa, made a request to the county that we want a four-way stop, chances are it's probably going to get denied based on the study that they did.
That's correct.
Okay.
It would be denied. Yes.
I saw a hand up. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chris, have we had any success looking for the opportunity to upgrade our PXOs to include accessibility standards for vision? The beeping on the, yeah.
So through the chair to Councillor Donovan, so pedestrian crossovers at this time do not incorporate AODA compliant items at this point. So as I mentioned before, we can look at those additional items, but I don't recommend it because what you're doing is you're exceeding what the current legislation is stating that you need to do. So if you change a PXO, like has it designed and engineered, if you go above and beyond the design and engineering of them, you're putting liability on yourself. So I don't recommend that. I recommend we install pedestrian crossings or stop signs or traffic signals for that matter that meet legislative requirements as they stand. If that makes sense.
Deputy Mayor Savage.
Thank you. That was my question as well. And I'd like to see us do a little bit of research into what that liability might look like. I'm deeply concerned for people who've got visual impairments or who have who need that type of auditory tone and whatnot so that they can safely cross. I understand minimum standards, but I don't think that we have to necessarily be held to minimum standards. I think there is sometimes very good rationale as to why we would like to exceed those. So I'd like a little bit of research done into what that liability looks like, and then we can have a conversation as to whether or not we're prepared to accept that liability. Because right now I don't really know what that is. You might, but I don't. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Further to that, Deputy Mayor, some of the issues are PXOs are typically solar powered. So that would change everything. If we look to AODA compliance, we would have to look at a fully powered crossing, which is not the norm at this time. A pedestrian crossover has implements for people with visual challenges. And that's in the sense of what's installed in the sidewalk. It's tactile. We call them Twizzies. There is more of an engineering term for that, but it's a tactile surface that informs the crosser that they are at a safe crossing point. But you're correct. We don't have the ability to put the tone or count down features into a PXO. Pedestrian crossovers, as they currently are designed, are the way they are. But, so they haven't changed those legislative requirements yet. So my concern again is if we go above what's legislated, we're on our own. Because we've essentially engineered above what the government is telling us to engineer. And I would not recommend that.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is there's nowhere that we could get something like that that's already been fabricated. We would be prototyping it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Yeah. So AODA compliant crossings are typically at traffic signals, which are powered, fully powered, not solar powered. That's the big difference.
Thank you.
Further questions on the report? I just have one quick one. I know that the county is going to be paving County Road 26. Does that mean we have to wait until they are done their paving and construction before we install the PXO?
Our department, along with JP2G, has already been in talks with the county engineering department to see if we can coincide their construction with some of the implements that we need for the pedestrian crossing. That includes the concrete installs, the tactile surface Twizzies, I'll say. The only thing that would be left would be the sonotubes and the actual PXO install. So all the other work would be done ahead of time as part of the county works. So we are hoping to work that all together so it's done more efficiently and hopefully more cost effectively.
Okay. And now that we have two PXOs already installed, have you heard any reports? Have we received complaints? Have we received positive feedback on the fact that we have those two in place?
I do get a lot of feedback on pedestrian crossovers. And actually, we've added the one on Victoria at Wolf, the one on Murphy at Roy. We also added the one last year on Town Center at Winston. So typically what I'm getting is more requests for additional pedestrian crossovers. The one that has come in recently is the Centennial Trail at the Boulevard, having a crossing there. So it seems like not getting any complaints, certainly getting good feedback on them. And then of course, people like them. So they're looking for additional crossings.
Mm-hmm. I think it's great that we've been proactive, putting these up and showing our citizens that we do take their safety and our pedestrian safety seriously. So, yeah.
I might also add that we have kept a rather high engineering standard. All of our PXO crossings have the LED flashers. So in some cases, we probably could have engineered to a lower specification, but we have tried to keep our PXOs consistent across the town and engineer them to the highest standard that we could, the safest standards available.
Yeah. So that means no matter where a pedestrian goes, if they hit that button, they're getting the same effect everywhere in town.
Correct.
That's good. Any other further questions? If you're comfortable, then I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Carmody. Okay, get ready. That the council of the corporation of the town of Petawawa requests permission from the county of Renfrew to install a new pedestrian crossover, TXO Level 2 Type B, in accordance with Ontario Traffic Manual Book 15 at the intersection of Dorn Road, which is County Road 26, and Herman Street. And that the council of the corporation of the town of Petawawa shall be responsible for all costs associated with the initial installation of the pedestrian crossing, including signage and pavement markings associated with the crossing, as well as the replacement of the pedestrian crossing. And that the county of Renfrew shall be responsible for the costs associated with the annual operation and maintenance of the pedestrian crossing and signage, with the town of Petawawa being responsible for the annual pavement markings associated with the crossings. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, I know the backyard chicken interested party have been patiently waiting, but you have to listen to the sewer pipe reports. So next up, we have PW-19-2025, the award of tender PW-12-2025, Pinehurst Estates sanitary sewer replacement. Chris.
Thank you, Mayor Service. All right, tender PW 12-2025 was prepared and advertised in the local paper, on our website and social media pages. 11 general contractors picked up tender documents and 5 bids were received on the closing date of June 10th, 2025 at 10 a.m. The respective bids are summarized below in your report. We also have the attached JP2G consultants tender report. I thought I'd touch on the contingency allowance that was mentioned in the report. Of $150,000, just so that council members understand the reasoning behind that, because it was a rather large contingency ask. So when we constructed Portage Roads phase 1 and 2, on phase 1, we encountered a lot of groundwater that required a contractor to be called in to de-water for us so that we could complete construction. We did not encounter that on Portage Road phase 2. So as part of this report, we are asking for a larger contingency in case we encounter high groundwater when we replace the sewer. Our hope is we won't, but the contingency is there in case we do, and we have to call in a contractor for that. So that's just the little bit of background on that. I also provided a diagram tonight for council members, just a little bit of context for what this is all about to help to refresh everyone's memories, but basically, the little red lines are shown going through the Pinehurst Estates. That's the sewer that's being upgraded. So currently it's an 8-inch sewer, and we are upgrading it to a 300 millimeter 1-foot sewer. So that coincides with the sewer upgrades that were completed along Portage Road. And there was also a similar sewer upgrade that was completed at the little road allowance where the Kia dealership is. It's a private road allowance, but we did upgrade that section of sewer in, I believe it was 2019. So essentially the lands that are outlined in purple on your diagram, those lands, if and when they are developed, it's obviously a future looking ahead, but both of those lands are now serviced by this sewer upgrade, allowing for more development in the town. So this coincides with the whole thrust of the housing enabling water systems fund grant. It's a mouthful. I just call it HUSA. So back to the report. So as far as the financials on this, the estimated construction budget for this report was $682,650. So as along with the grant, it works that 73% of the total costs, construction costs, which include engineered services, so 73% of the maximum project costs are covered by the grant, with 27% being covered by the municipality. So when we budgeted for this project, we had an estimated construction budget of $682,650, with $498,335 coming from the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund grant and $184,316 coming from wastewater user fees. So with the costing that we have now, which goes back to McRae Excavating Limited, who was our lowest responsive bidder for this project, $364,586.50 was their construction cost, along with engineered services and the contingency, brought the construction cost for this project to $569,586.50. So if you similarly break that down using the grant funding formula, that works out to $415,798.14 being covered through the grant, and $153,788.35 being covered through the wastewater user fees. So we're still well within budget. And our hope is the contingency allowance won't be required, which will make things even better. So that's the report in a nutshell, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions on the report? No questions? I just have one quick one. So we had 498,000 eligible under the HUSIP fund.
Yes.
But now with the new lower project cost coming in, it looks like we'll have 73,000 left in the HUSIP approximately, and maybe more if the contingency isn't spent. Can we carry that over? Or do we have to spend that?
Sorry, Mayor Service.
The
Totally
HUSIP?
confused me there.
So we got 498,000 in the HUSIP grant for our cost because the project was gonna be 682.
That's correct, yes.
But now that it's coming in lower, we're only spending 415,000.
Right,
And that's just it? We get the 415?
that's correct. Because the award or the grant funding is based on the actual awarded costs, not our construction estimates.
Yeah.
It's 73% of the
Actual
awarded
cost.
contract to McRae Excavating, along with the engineered services and the contingency.
Okay. So there's nothing we can put in the bank then?
From the grant, no.
I was
Thanks,
hopeful. I was hopeful. Okay, so now that this is being increased to 300 millimeter size, we're confident that all the new proposed development going in behind Portage Landing, we have the capacity to handle everything that's
correct.
put in there,
Yes,
and then some,
and then some.
and then some. Okay.
Yeah.
In case there's more. Okay, any other questions? Then I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. The council approves the award of tender PW-12-2025 Pinehurst Estates sanitary sewer replacement to the lowest bidder being McRae Excavating Limited in the amount of $364,586.50 plus HST. And the council approves $55,000 for engineering support for design, tendering, and contract administration. And the council approves $150,000 for project contingency allowance for a total project cost of $569,586.50 plus HST. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Well, I hope you have enjoyed your couple hours of municipal politics in action, because now we're finally at PL-21-2025, the backyard chicken report. Melanie, the report is yours.
All right. So, as outlined in the report, I'm looking for basically two things tonight from council. Comments in general, just a conversation about the bylaw that's attached in attachment 1 for some feedback. And along with that is council direction to prepare a zoning amendment to take the existing backyard chicken provisions out of the zoning bylaw and transfer instead into a standalone bylaw. So those are the two outcomes we're looking for at the end. But just a little bit of background information, the backyard chicken provisions in the zoning bylaw were brought in 2021 when the zoning bylaw was updated. At that time, staff had done quite a bit of research to see what other municipalities were doing about backyard chickens. And those are the provisions that council ultimately supported. Those provisions only permit chickens on lots with private services, intentionally limiting chickens to rural properties and not allowing them in town, in the built-up part. In 2022, there was a request received from a resident to reconsider those provisions to open them up a bit more to lots in town. At that time, the bylaw had only been in effect for less than a year, so council declined that request to keep trying those provisions that were in the bylaw. So since 2022, town staff and council members continue to receive feedback about backyard chickens. We also see other municipalities embracing backyard chickens more. So we were asked, and planning staff completed a review of what other municipalities are doing, focused on Renfrew County, but we also looked across the province. And, you know, there's kind of a mix of provisions that you see out there. Backyard provisions, or backyard chickens are very common though in a standalone bylaw because, you know, zoning bylaws are about how you use land and buildings on the land, whereas the backyard chicken bylaws contain provisions about care and maintenance of animals, but not just a zoning issue. So based on our review, we've prepared a draft standalone bylaw for conversation with council. I put a copy on your desk tonight because I had inadvertently attached the wrong version in the council's package agenda. But basically the main changes from what are already in the zoning bylaw are to allow chickens on all lots in the town of Petawawa, including lots with full or partial municipal services. So basically taking away that restriction for rural properties and allowing them in town. So up to 6 chickens on residential properties, potentially 12 chickens on rural zone properties up to 5 hectares in area, who currently have a restriction of 6, and no limit on the number of chickens on rural properties over 5 hectares. And the 5 hectares was chosen because in our zoning bylaw, that's the minimum area for a farm. So we didn't want any of these restrictions to apply on a farm. In the standalone bylaw, there's more requirements around care and maintenance of the animals. And a big change is there's a requirement for a license. It's actually applying for a permit for backyard chickens with an annual renewal. And in our municipal scan, that's pretty universally required is some kind of permitting process to know where chickens are in town and some kind of oversight. So those are the big changes. Like I mentioned, the zoning bylaw amendment will be required to revise our zoning bylaw, take the backyard provisions, chicken provisions out, and instead refer to the standalone bylaw. That amendment will require the statutory public meeting, which also gives the public a chance to comment on, you know, what we're proposing to do with backyard chickens. The bylaw also has a statement to override the current animal control bylaw because it doesn't allow backyard chickens. So the bylaw basically says the backyard chicken bylaw would prevail. As with current, other bylaws that we've recently updated, had to point out enforcement. So until there's more capacity for bylaw enforcement in the town, enforcement would be primarily complaint driven, at least to start, unless the town is able to increase resources for more oversight. And we would have to figure out, you know, what the licensing and permitting process looks like administratively in the town. Application form, what does the permit look like, annual renewals, that kind of thing. So that's what's in the report. I don't know if you want to go through the bylaw together or you just want to go straight to questions about what you've read in the draft bylaw. I can go through section by section if you like.
How about if there are any highlights you feel worth highlighting for the council before we start getting into the weeds, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so one thing we did notice was it's very common not to allow roosters. So we say in this bylaw, roosters are prohibited. Which one question I have for council is, do you want to prohibit them also on farms? Because by saying roosters are strictly prohibited, that's everywhere in town, including on farms. So that is something that I would like feedback from council on. You'll also notice that in the existing backyard provisions, it talks about minimum distance separations, MDS, not applying to the keeping of backyard chickens. There's no mention of minimum distance separation in this draft standalone bylaw, and that is because they sometimes apply and they sometimes don't apply. So they don't apply in town within the settlement area boundary marked out on our official plan. MDS does not apply. But when you get out to the rules on the property, it could apply. So the MDS guidelines are provincial legislation sitting at the top of our municipal legislation. So we didn't mention it. We could add it in saying something like MDS guidelines will apply. We do have a line saying any other applicable provincial or federal legislation applies. So I wanted to, that is the difference from the other bylaw. I think those would be the only things I would call it.
Okay, questions on the report? Councilor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to say thank you for expediting this and getting this through. I know it's much worked for by lots of residents in town. They're really looking forward to it. Anyone on council can look at the sheet beside us from the Petawawa Pantry. Just one thing to point out about the increase of food insecurities in town. The ability to be able to have and raise your own chickens in your backyard. I know it's minimal, but it is a step in the right direction. And I think when people start to raise their own birds and they get the little fruits of their labor, it's going to grow into more. I know it worked for me. I never was a gardener. I started to get chickens and now I have a massive garden. And once you start, it helps you become a little more self-reliant. They rarely make little noise. They have no more of a smell than any four-legged friend we have in many houses. So I think it's a great step and I think it's going to go very well.
Councilor Carmen.
Thank you for bringing this forward, Melanie. Just a word about the roosters. I would think that they should be allowed on properties greater than 5 hectares. And generally, I'm in favor of everything else in this bylaw. I think it looks great. It'll satisfy as Councilor Driscoll said, it will make a lot of people happy.
Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know when this came before previous council, a few of us sitting around this table were quite in favor of moving this forward, and I was one of those then, and I remain one of those people now. I think the roosters are prohibited except on farms. I think they should be prohibited. I mean, they should be allowed. Pardon me. I'll just tell you a quick little story. I've got a lot of neighbors in our area. I live on Doran Road, and I walk the subdivisions, and I know of a lot of chickens. I see chickens being carried by as pets by little children in their yard and whatnot. And my neighbors have a chicken, and I have chicken hens. I've never heard them except last week. I was out in the yard, and I heard what I thought sounded like a serious child like a screaming, serious in trouble. And I was really alert, and I just thought, oh my gosh, like something is going on next door. I must launch into help mode. And then I stopped. Something said to me to stop and just pay attention again. It was coming from the chicken coop. I don't know what it was. Never heard a thing from them before. I don't know if it was an extra large egg, but it sounded alarming. But I am absolutely in favor of this, and I'm excited for our residents. Thank you.
I thought you were going to say a weasel.
No, extra large egg. I don't know.
Councilor Kuchar.
Thank you sincerely, Melanie. This bylaw really has everything I was looking for in it. I would add to James's comment about the roosters. I would think that as well, hens younger than 4 months should be allowed on the farm. Given the rooster interactions, better you'd imagine. Just to say, I was a part of that 2022 delegation who came to present to council, and it was a really there's an enthusiastic group of chicken tenders out there. And I'm really excited if we can move this forward and get to a space like Adam mentioned, where people are able to take some of their food security into their own hands. And it is super timely that we have this Petawawa Pantry statistic report in front of us, because the numbers are a little bit shocking. And I think the more that we can do, because I know if one neighbor has chickens, they're going to be spreading eggs around, you know, in their area for free, because you won't be able to charge. But just that community and that increasing that sense of resilience, I'm very much in favor of that bylaw, with perhaps those two tweaks just for farm property. Thank you.
Sounds like we're gonna have a community scrambled egg test. Yes, Melanie.
So the provision about no hens younger than 4 months of age, just a little bit of facts there. The 4 months of age is because you can't tell whether a chick is a hen or a rooster until they're 4 months old. So that's how it goes together with the roosters.
There you go.
I'm not gonna ask who's checking that.
Yeah.
For a month more.
Did want to call out the sale of eggs, manure, meat, hens is prohibited, and that is because if you start selling your eggs, they should be graded, and there's other provincial rules that kick in for any of that.
Okay, further comment? Councillor Driscoll?
Just to touch on the 4 month again, is that what most other municipalities have? Because I know a lot of people like buying chicks and then raising them, and then if you do get a rooster, you should have a grace period of say 30 days to be able to rehome the rooster. I know I see that a lot on a lot of chicken groups and they go quite easily. Just to be able to get different species of birds, because buy ready to lay pullets is a little tougher sometimes compared to being able to buy chicks. So I think that should be amended to give a grace period. If it is a rooster, you'll know pretty quickly when they start cawing, and you can get rid of them then.
So the 4 months of age was pretty universal.
I mean, I'm against that portion, but I like everything else. Just on the fact of getting chicks is easier than getting ready to lay pullets.
Okay, further questions or comments? Okay, somebody's got to play devil's advocate here. I just have a few questions. I am for backyard chickens. I just have a few questions about how this would all get put into place and what may follow. So I know in part of your report it said it's going to be complaint driven, because right now we don't have the resources in terms of bylaw officers or animal control officers. So is it bylaw that would be looking after any of these issues, or is it animal control that would be enforcing any of these issues, or a combination of the two of them?
It would be municipal bylaw enforcement officers.
Okay, so animal control has, unless I guess there was animals being mistreated or something, then animal control or something?
It may be more animal control in the case of for training purposes, but they're both municipal law enforcement officers, so whether it's animal control or bylaw, it still falls in the realm of bylaw enforcement. So,
okay. I know in the town of Deep River, their bylaw enforcement officer does a visit when the permit is issued, and then in complaints they follow them.
Okay, I think something that would be good for council to hear about is other communities that have had backyard chickens, maybe for some time, just to get a sense of how many, reports and incidences, and maybe find a town that's our size that has had this in place for a while, just to see how many calls they've had, complaints they've had, just so we can kind of gauge how it's been implemented in other communities, I guess. So it does concern me that we are, like we're saying, we're understaffed, and it may be a complication to look after these kind of things. So does that mean the onus is on us to upgrade our staff to ensure that we have appropriate staffing levels, if we do encounter problems? So the whole complaint-driven thing, because complaints are given to our staff, and that increases staff time. And in a small community, complaints often get brought to councilors and get brought to me. So as soon as I hear complaint-driven, like I want this to be put in place and I want it to work. But as soon as I hear complaint-driven, there's already a lot of complaints about a lot of different things, and I don't want to increase the workload on our staff and the stress level of the counseling. So when I hear complaint driven, what do we need to do to ensure that that doesn't become a burden on staff, a burden on council? Is it us ensuring that we have enough enforcement out there if the complaint volume goes up? Inspection. So within this report, it talks about minimum setbacks and building codes. And so each time somebody comes in and asks for a license for backyard chickens, does that mean our building department has to go out and inspect whatever has been constructed?
Yes, so what you see with an application form is a sketch of the property, where all of the coops be, all the dimensions that you see in the bylaw. So typically someone from the town, whether it's bylaw or enforcement officer, goes out and checks that those are met.
Okay, so it's not our building inspector or that department that would go out and inspect these structures?
Each municipality is doing it differently, so we'll have to figure that out. For our municipality.
Because we know that there's a lot of growth right now in Petawawa and our building inspection team is stretched pretty thin. So this would just add something else on their plate. So I guess when it comes to the public meeting, it's something that maybe we should have something we could talk about, I guess. How are we going to deal with applications, inspections, and that sort of thing? The other one is obviously, like anything, like a backyard fire pit, we ask our residents to come in and apply for a permit, and then the fire goes out and inspects the fire pit. Also does a little, fire alarm inspection in the house as well. And we know sometimes people don't ask for permits, they just go ahead and build this sort of thing. So if somebody thinks, I'm not going to apply for a license for my backyard chickens, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. What are the consequences? Do we have something built in here that says if we find out you have chickens, you built a coop, but you have no license? What are the consequences? Do we just say to them, listen, it's over, you can never apply for a license again because you tried to get away with it? I just think if we're going to offer this as a opportunity for the citizens of Petawawa, there has to be consequences for people that aren't following our policy. But I don't really see anything written in here.
Yeah, section 6.2 says any person that contravenes any provision of the bylaw is guilty and liable to a penalty under the Provincial Offences Act.
But then if they're guilty once, does that mean we're never going to accept an application from you ever again? Just as a follow-up to that kind of thing, if you know what I mean. And I guess just one last question. Traditionally, Petawawa has been a town where we have a house with a larger backyard, but recently we've had a lot of new subdivisions, Limestone, Marquee, and more of our new subdivisions are being built in the traditional urban sense. I know in here it says nothing in a townhouse or a duplex. Anybody without their own backyard cannot do this. But as we become more urban and backyards become smaller and tighter and everybody's closer together, I guess the concern I have, and it all goes back to that complaint driven, the closer we are and the closer neighbors are, and we saw it with COVID, neighbor disputes and neighbor complaints went through the roof because more people were at home and they were watching and hearing what their neighbors were doing. So that's just the concern I have, is that should there be a minimum size of the backyard, because some of our backyards now are the size of this space right in here. Is that a big enough backyard to have chickens, or are we too close? So again, just more something to bring forward to the public meeting, I guess.
Yeah, and that's where we had the 3 meters from the lot lines, rear yard only, to try and provide some separation from neighbors.
Yeah.
And that was, again, different distances used by different municipalities, but 3 meters was something that's not very common.
Okay. And I'm just thinking, when we do have a public meeting, I'm sure that people from both sides will come out and express their point of view. So hopefully we'll hear from people who want the chickens and people who are concerned about it. Go ahead, Don.
Sorry, Mayor Service. I just wanted to comment that the 3 meter setback is the same that's used within our burning bylaw for the location of a fire pit. So it's
Okay.
consistent with something that's already in effect.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Salmon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of quick remarks. Most of what occurs in this town is complaint driven. We don't go around and peer in people's backyards and mind their business and whatnot. I think that if, there are a number of not vexatious people who are out there to be vexatious and try to cause trouble, but if there are a number of warranted complaints that are investigated, I think that's where you look at maybe your license gets revoked, that kind of thing. So I don't think we're going to have every resident in the town of Petawawa wanting backyard chickens. They are a big responsibility and a lot of work and require, they're not just, I think I'd rather have a dog, because I think chickens are a lot of work. But that being said, I think for all the right reasons, I think that we should be moving forward with this. And I think we've got the necessary separation distances and things that are very consistent, and I thank you very much for going through the bylaw and making sure that it's compared to other such things that we have in different and other bylaws in the town. That was very well.
Councillor Kern?
Thank you, Mayor Service. I'll echo the Deputy Mayor's comments. Not everybody is going to have backyard chickens. I don't think there'll be that much uptake on it. There's a community out there that really wants backyard chickens and likes it, but I have no intention of getting chickens. There's always going to be way more dog owners than chicken owners. Guaranteed. Dogs will forever be a much bigger problem than chickens will ever be for us. So that's just kind of the way I've been looking at it.
Okay. Any more questions, Councillor?
Just a question for Melanie. What are we looking at for a timeline for public meeting or any zoning amendment?
So we have to have kind of this bylaw in the format that we're ready to present. And then we would get the zoning amendment together and get it out. But if you recall from other zoning amendment, there's a 20-day notice period before the public meeting. And then we allow about a week after the public meeting to bring all the information back to council, verbal and written comments. And then there's a 20-day appeal period after the bylaw is passed. So the zoning amendment process has some time.
So looking at around 50 days or like 3 months?
Yeah, there's 40 days just in notice periods there, so.
Okay.
Sorry to belabor this, but just a couple more questions. What happens when the bird reaches its end of laying usefulness, I guess, or end of its life, or it dies? What do chicken coop owners do with a dead bird or one that's no longer useful?
So very common in all the bylaws we saw, and it's in section 4 in the draft bylaw, is slaughtering hens on the property is prohibited and they have to be disposed of through a licensed facility or a veterinarian.
Okay.
So there's no culling on your property.
And I'm guessing because of health restrictions that none of these eggs could be donated to the food bank.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Any further questions or comments?
I did want to ask point out a couple of things. It does say in here, chicken coop shelters must comply with the building code. With the building code, if the coops are less than 10 meters square, they don't require a building permit. But if somebody wanted to build a bigger coop than that, then the building code would kick in and a building permit would be required.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of trying to set some kind of minimum, maximum coop size, that's why we just put a general statement in, just comply with the code. One other thing I wanted to point out or ask was license fees. So most people have a license fee. $50 a year is what we saw commonly. Some Whitewater region is $150. So is council supportive of a fee? What kind of a fee? In the draft bylaw, we said a fee would be set by the town and can be amended from time to time. But when we set up a licensing process, we'll need to know what kind of fee council is supportive of.
Okay. Is that something you want to discuss right now, or do we have time to bring that number back?
I think we don't have to decide it tonight, but if this bylaw is passed, it becomes into effect immediately, so we need to be prepared ahead of passing this bylaw.
Even though there's a time period between now and the public meeting and when it becomes official.
We would bring this bylaw back for passing at the same time as the zoning, so that they work together.
Okay, how does everybody feel about a fee and which would be sent at Councilor Justin?
Personally, I'm against any fee. I know it's not gonna go that way probably, because based on other municipalities are doing. What is our dog licensing fee right now per year?
25.
I don't think it should be any more than to register a dog. It should be no different. But again, I would vote for nothing. But if I had to choose something, I would say no more than any other animal you have.
Okay, but if I have 6 dogs, that's $150.
You have a 6
So
dog.
6 chickens would be $150.
If I have a Great Dane, it's 150 pounds compared to 6 birds that are 6 pounds each or 4
If I have
pounds.
6 miniature chihuahuas, they're smaller than chickens. Deputy Mayor Sadler.
I'm in favor of a fee. I don't think that $50 is unreasonable, particularly because we've got staff time that needs to be invested in going out and we need to recoup those costs. We should be on a cost recovery. So I don't know if $50 is appropriate but I think that sounds fair.
I think what might assist us in setting a fee is how much staff time is involved with one license. So when a license is presented at the counter, our front staff would have to deal with the individual. And then if we have to send somebody out to inspect the poop in the backyard, that's driving and gas. So I think if we had in front of us, here's all the minutes, the hours, the driving and all of that time, it would help us come to a decision on how much, as you said, cost recovery is the big thing. Otherwise, the town would be subsidizing backyard chickens for those who want it and not for those who don't want it. So it's something to consider, I guess. Councilor Carmen?
I would be in favor of a fee, and probably 50 sounds reasonable, given the fact that you're sending somebody out to the property to inspect it, whereas with dog ownership, there's no inspection or anything of your dog. And whether or not we subsidize it, we subsidize all kinds of things, right? So, I mean, I don't have any kids that play hockey, but I'm paying for other kids to play hockey, so, you know.
How much do we charge for our fire pit fee?
Thank you, Mayor Service. There's one suggestion I would recommend for like a first time, including inspections such as we do for a fire permit. It's $50 for your first, which includes the inspection and your annual fee, and then a $25 annual permit after that.
So something similar to what we do with fire pit.
That's better.
Yeah.
I like that. Yep.
Councilor Kupu?
Just to comment on the application fee, et cetera, I was looking closely at Armfire's chicken, or they call it a backyard hen bylaw, and they had that saying $50 for your first application, $25 for subsequent. And to me, that seems fair because if you're not doing the same expenditure time to renew it. And also I really liked Armfire's application process. It seems really streamlined. I pretended to go through it for a minute, but just if you're looking for examples. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Roots?
I agree with both of us.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? So it sounds like we're comfortable with a $50 initial fee and a $25 annual licensing fee after that. Is there anything else we're missing?
I just wanted to mention Deep River had a 3-year pilot program, and I spoke to them today, and they had a lot of calls or complaints or concerns about backyard chickens, which is why they started their pilot project. But once they had their pilot project in place, no concerns, and they just exited pilot and passed it from their bylaw last year and continue with no complaints. Smaller municipality, you know, there's not a lot of uptake. It's less than 10, I think we said. But their experience is now that they have a structured program, they're actually having less complaints.
Yeah, good to hear. Okay, any other comments? Councillor
Just, I
Driscoll?
just, John, Mary, one thing to add to is when Daniel had that presentation earlier about chickens, he had noted that he had called multiple municipalities, Kitchener being one of them, and the only things they had were when they had roosters, and that's where they had that 30-day grace period to get rid of the rooster. So, I mean, we have a lot of people who have chickens right now in our land, we're not getting complaints left, right, and center, so I think it's going to be a
Okay. Good discussion, everyone. So it sounds like we're moving ahead, and we'll look forward to the public meeting. See what kind of feedback we get from the residents of Petawawa. Okay, so if you're comfortable, I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin. The council provided comments on the draft bylaw in attachment 1 and directed staff to proceed with a zoning bylaw amendment to revise the zoning provisions related to backyard chickens and zoning bylaw 456/07 as amended. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Was it worth the wait? Okay, next we have councillor reports. Deputy Mayor Sandler.
Fasten your seatbelts. Lot to say today. Okay. Are you ready, Kate? Okay, I'm just reporting from the middle of May. On May the 21st, I attended the Police Services Detachment Board meeting. On the 23rd of May, it was a big day for many of us. We attended the grand opening of Flightline and as well Eva's Cafe. Also, I was in attendance at the National Accessibility event at the Container Market, as well as attended the renaming of Porsche Hoffman's The Portal. Yeah. I would like to say that I think the Container Market is fascinating and just as full of wonderful things, and they have a candy place. I cannot say anymore. 28th of May, I attended the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion meeting. On June the 4th, I chaired a seniors advisory meeting. On the 11th of June, I attended Mississippi Mills for the Healthy Democracy Forum, and it was absolutely fascinating. We talked about building a more connected communities, the power of human connection, and social connections are now have the biggest impact on health, which was, more than exercise, more than eating healthy, all of those kind of things. So really important as we get to further and further away from those social connections. Also talked about the Elect Respect initiatives, as well as engaging youth in local democracy and looking at ways to improve candidate experiences in rural Ontario. There should be something that comes out in terms of something that we can access on the web, and once that happens, be sure to share that with you. On the 13th of June, I attended and participated in organizing of our Pride event, 3rd annual, and just fantastic. Thank you very much to all of the people who came out to show their allyship, their support, and thank you to the community businesses and the community organizations that really made it a worthwhile event. Thanks, Gary, for your words, and thank you to Karen and James for coming out as well. On the 14th of June, of course, and over the weekend was Civic Center Days, and that Midway is pretty spectacular, and certainly seemed very busy. And an 82-year-old came up to me when I was volunteering as a volunteer fundraiser at the Craft Beer Fest. She came up and she said that she hadn't been on a roller coaster or a Ferris wheel since she was a kid, and she wanted to go on one. So she was absolutely so excited. So anyways, well done to the community services team, or whatever the name of goodness that department's called now, which I probably can't remember and have not quite gotten right. Also, as the inspector alluded to, the Emergency and Protective Services Unite event will once again be held. It will occur on September the 13th. It will be at Stafford Park. I attended a meeting today with respect to that, and will be a volunteer at that event. So, thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Service. So I can report that on June 5th, our new CEO started work at the library. Matthew Corbett, so I encourage you to pop in and say hello if you get a chance. And on June 10th, I attended a Renfrew County sponsored forestry tour. So we went to, everybody jumped on a bus at the county building, and we went to the Rosewood MDF plant, which was really interesting. And then proceeded to a county-owned forest on the other side of Beechburg, where Heidemans from Eganville were doing they were thinning out a red pine plantation, and it was interesting to watch that and see the equipment work. And then we went to Heidemans sawmill in Eganville. That's quite the operation they have out there. You would never know everything that's in there to look at it from the road. But anyway, so that was a full day, and it was an interesting, very interesting day. On June 13th, I attended the Pride event over at the Kinhut. And on June 14th, I went to some of the Civic Center Day festivities. The Craft Beer Festival was very well attended, great live music, and that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Couture.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been out in the community talking with businesses about the EDI Advisory Committee's commitment to inclusion agreement. So I'm starting to sign up businesses with that program. So stay tuned for more announcements as we get a list and maybe a photo op together. And then, of course, on June 13th, I attended Town of Petawawa's third Pride event, and it was taking place also with the Town of Petawawa's first Pride Walk. So the Pride Walk joined the Pride event, and I'm sincerely grateful for all the volunteers who came out, Councillor Donovan and Councillor Teresa, of course, being a member of the EDI committee, and for all the councillors and the mayor who managed to make it to the event. It was the biggest we've had, the most attended for sure, and certainly the most supported by our community businesses. So TD Bank made a massive donation to the event, and we also had donations from CNL, Teachers Union, and a lot of our businesses came out and made us amazing deals on the things we had to offer. I want to repeat what Colonel Guinea said, because I cheered when he said it. He called it the best party in Petawawa. So if anyone didn't make it this year, I'm hoping that you'll come next year, because I think we're going to take that mantle, the best party in Petawawa, and just run with it. And it really was a celebration of diversity, of inclusion, and the feedback I had, particularly from youth, was that they felt seen, accepted, heard, supported, and just embraced by this town. So I want to thank this council for their support of these initiatives, and I'm looking forward to an even better Pride next year. The planning started yesterday. So. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Councillor.
Just over this past weekend, I took in a couple festivities, Civic Center Days on Sunday. I didn't get to attend as many as I'd like. I had to work most of the weekend, unfortunately. Other than that, I'm just actively awaiting the birth of our next child, which was hopefully last weekend, but still waiting. Yeah, other than that, hopefully we'll have an update on that next council report. Thanks.
Thanks. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you. 4th of June, I was at the Seniors Advisory Committee meeting with the Deputy Mayor. On the 11th of June as well, I attended the Healthy Democracy Project with the Deputy Mayor. Theme happening here. And again, yes, it was a very informative day. Probably my greatest takeaway is that Mississippi Mills has a lot of really good food places. Just saying. Then 13th of June, I was at the Pride celebration as the chief donut decorating guru, followed by the pizza distributor. So it was a lot of fun, good turnout. It was good to see familiar faces as well that we've seen each year as it's gone on. So that was great. 15th of June then, which was Sunday, yesterday, just popped into the container market, kind of wandered around, saw what was going on with Civic Center Days. And it's good to see how successful that event is as well. So thanks to staff for all the hard work putting that together.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Root.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. June 3rd, I attended a Petawawa Business Advisory meeting, and the topics of importance of this meeting was the wayfinding town signage opportunities, business grants, programs and resources, the Petawawa letter sign project update, event updates on the Petawawa Ramble, full planning, and the Petawawa Veteran Business Expo. On the weekend, attended some Civic Center Day events and celebrated an excellent Father's Day. And constantly working in behind the scenes, as mentioned, on the lighting project for the festival hall upgrade. I'm still working, getting information and educating myself on the best new initiatives out there for lighting. So that's what I've been working on. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, I just want to thank Councillor Donovan, Deputy Mayor Savran, for attending the Healthy Democracy Forum on my behalf, and for Councillor Carmody for attending the Renfrew County Forestry Tour. Likewise, glad you had a good time there, seeing what's going on in the forestry industry. On June the 4th, I attended a doctor recruitment dinner. There were 16 first-year U of O medical students that came up to the Pembroke area. They spent a week here working at the hospital. They went rafting. They went to a dinner with all the local mayors, where we extolled them of the virtues of coming and living in the town of Petawawa. 99% of these young individuals come from Metro Toronto, and a couple of them came from Ottawa. So when they heard what was, what we had to offer here, and when they came here and saw what there was to offer here, I think they were a little awestruck when they realized the beaches we had and the outdoor activities we had, the beautiful, safe communities we had. I don't know if we convinced any of them to come here when they actually become a doctor, but it sure opened their eyes to the possibilities of coming and working here and raising a family here. So I think it was a great initiative put on by the CEO of the Pembroke Hospital, Sabine Hersman, and they're planning on doing it again every spring now with Queen students and with the U of O students. The one thing I can say that all of the students, every one of the students, said the 1 week experience they had with the staff at the Pembroke Regional Hospital was unlike any experience they've had at any of the big city hospitals. What we have to offer here is more staff, more resources, more time to allow these young individuals to experience things that they wouldn't get to do at a big city hospital. So they would, I got to suture this, and I got to see a knee operation, and I saw a live birth, and we never would have got that opportunity in Toronto, but they got it here. The other thing they mentioned is how the Pembroke Regional Hospital felt like a team and a family, whereas the bigger city hospitals was more a bunch of silos and everything was separate. But here they felt part of a team, and so between that and getting to go rafting and seeing what we have to offer here, it certainly, I hope, will attract a few of them later on in life if they come here. On the 6th, there was the rededication of the C-47 Dakota airplane outside of the base museum. I've driven by that for years and kind of knew a little bit about the story of it. But to go up there, and I don't know if anybody's seen it, but they repainted it. 427 Squadron paid for the paint and for the time to repaint it into its original condition, and it was rededicated. It looks fantastic. What I didn't know is that airplane took paratroopers on the night before D-Day. And apparently, this is what they said, that C-47 Dakota that sits on the base is the only one on D-Day that didn't get a bullet hole in it. It's that one. Then went on to drop paratroopers into the Netherlands during the Market Garden invasion. That same very aircraft. They also had a list of the crew that flew each of those missions, and at that time it was a Royal Air Force plane. And then after the war, it got given to Canada in, I think, 1946 or 7. And it flew in the Canadian Air Force for about 40 years after that. And eventually made it, I'm going to say 1983 is when it was put onto the garrison there. But it looks fantastic if you get a chance to go up and look at it. I'll tell you one more interesting thing. The black and white markings under the wing were only done on planes during D-Day to identify them as friendly aircraft instead of enemy aircraft. If you go and look at this one, it's very nicely painted with smooth, straight lines, but apparently the night before D-Day, it was done in the dark with paint rollers. White, black, white, black. That was it. So they said this paint job looks a little neater than after. We also got to go into the museum and look, they had a display of ancient military weapons all the way back to World War I. Last year, you actually got to fire them. This year, we didn't get to. So I'm hoping next year will be. On the 10th, we met, had a meeting with the outgoing base commander and the incoming base commander. On the 12th was county council. I'll report on that at the end of the month. On the 13th, there was the Garrison Pride event. I attended up there at the Garrison event. And of course, I'd like to thank our EDI committee and everybody involved in putting together the Petawawa Pride event. And like you said, it was the biggest and the best ever, and it's only going to grow from there. It was great to have Colonel Guinea attend our event as well and say some words there. I also attended some of the Midway and the petting zoo with my grandson. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Yesterday was Father's Day. Okay, now we have to go into a closed meeting, so I need a motion to go into closed. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that the meeting be closed pursuant to section 239, paragraph 2, paragraph B of the Municipal Act 2001 S.O.2001 C.25 as amended, to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Okay. Okay, welcome back. Council is back from their closed session. A closed meeting was held. Council discussed a personnel matter and provided direction to the acting clerk and the human resources coordinator on the matter involving the municipal employee. There's nothing further to report at this time. I need a motion for the confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Councillor Roots, that bylaw 1766/25 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1766/25, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on June 16th, 2025. This constitutes first, second, and third reading short of bylaw 1766/25, the 16th day of June, 2025.
I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that the meeting adjourn to the call of the mayor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Did we break a record for the longest meeting?
No.
We did it.